Welcome to the Shivan Library. Today we are checking out the second round of the North Star Cup, the Finnish online webcam tournament. I got a little unlucky and was downpaired against an opponent I did not want to see. Well, assuming that is that they are playing their usual deck. If I am correct here, I'm looking at a very rocky road ahead of me. My deck of choice for this tournament was Erhnam Burn'em, the classic red-green aggro deck. And here is the deck list that I am playing for this. If you want the full deck tech and more information on my card choices, you can check the first episode where I go through it in more detail. That episode is linked in the info card if you want to take a closer look. But the deck is fairly simple and straightforward. Play green creatures, pump them up in combat, and then finish things off with red burn spells. The deck has some dedicated sideboard tools, but nothing really that's anything truly unique. Just your average, put your creatures sideways and count to 20 type of deck. Now, let's just hope my lucky stars are aligned and the fates are smiling, because we are going to need all the help we get in this match if the game is what I suspect it to be. But before we go, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video to see more old school Magic the Gathering action. Alright, heading into game number 1. My opponent is on the play and makes a quite surprising start. The Fountain of Youth, a card that's not usually seen pretty much elsewhere but this deck. Surprisingly though, in this deck it is a good one. It can grind out the long game and it works pretty well with Greed. And for me it's a script sprite for start. Let's get that damage ticking quick. And oh, there's my biggest nightmare in this match, and this game just started on the wrong foot right away. The Abyss will kill one of my creatures, each of my upkeeps. And seeing that my deck basically is a creature-heavy deck, that's gonna be a problem. Now, I can load up on creatures like to get a single attack for maybe 1 or 2 turns, get some damage in with giant growths and stuff like that, but that Abyss is gonna probably ruin the game straight out the bat. Getting Sinkhold from a Tiger, well, not the end of the world, but annoying. A single land destruction isn't that bad, but getting all of this together, it's gonna be a nightmare. Chaos Orb for my opponent, Lightning Bolt hitting them in the face. I'm trying just at this point deal as much small doses of damage all around, like to get things going. And here's the Script Sprite and Scavenging Folk. This is the only kind of a play I can do, is play at least 2 creatures at once, so one of them will do something on my turn. Another question is that Scavenging Folk gonna go after the Chaos Orb, or what? Or is the Chaos Orb gonna be used before that? As my opponent is thinking about the same question right here. Is that Chaos Orb worth it or not? A Relic Barrier, well, that's fine for me. I don't have any artifacts here. Sack the sprites, let the Scavenging Folk do their thing. Now the question is, which artifact is going to be destroyed? The Relic Barrier it doesn't matter. That's just fine. And I'm going for the Chaos Orb, but I think that is a misplay right there. Because what the Chaos Orb can do is destroy one of my lands, which of course means smaller fireballs and smaller other threats. And I'm regrowing the Lightning Bolt. But the Fountain of Youth most likely will be much bigger problem than that Chaos Orb could have ever been. And it is possible that misplay from my part may cost me the game, if there ever actually was a game, because the early Abyss is backbreaking. Now, considering that I would need at least a few creatures at once, most likely one of them being Erhnam Djinn or something that can do real damage, and then pump it up. Because right now, all the giant growths, all the berserks and cards like that, they are dead in my hand because I can't get any creatures in. And there is a Sylvan library. That is a good thing right now, because I can start digging deep. Because I don't have anything to answer the Abyss. There is no enchantment removal in my main deck. So creatures are out of the question, and I'm looking for fireballs, more mana sources to begin with. And lightning bolts, chain lightnings, all those cards are now good. Yeah, and there's the lightning bolt we regrowed the last turn to hit them in the face and kind of start whittling them down. And here is because the realization might start hitting me that the Fountain of Youth ticking up 1 life per turn actually matters a lot, because this game will go long. Well, it goes as long as they can find an Underworld Dreams, because that's the final nail in my coffin. Chain lightning to the face, dropping them to 13, and the Fountain of Youth ticks up basically at the end of every turn. And if this game goes long, it's gonna gain 5 or 6 life. That's much more than that 1 Chaos Orb could have done. So that's gonna kinda bite me in the end. Shuffling the lands, thinking of what they're gonna do. City in a Bottle. That's, it's a safe play. It makes sure that those Erhnams aren't gonna do anything. Another lightning bolt in the face. Yeah, those are the cards I want to see right now. Just runner bolts from the top of my deck, I would be so happy. The City in a Bottle right now does only affect 6 cards in my deck. The 4 Erhnam Djinns are of course the obvious ones, and the 2 City of Brass are the ones that I can't play now. But this is actually a good point of why the Curd Apes are also a little problematic, because many people have started putting City in a Bottles in their main 60, basically for cards like Library of Alexandria and sometimes those City of Brasses. But getting my Curd Apes eaten would be extra devastating. Yeah, and here is a good example of what I can do with the Abyss in play. Just throw in as many creatures as I can all at once, so at least some of them get to attack. And here, yeah, the Llanowar Elves is going to be fed to the Abyss. The Elvish Archers are going to slap for 4. If I have Giant Growths, they'll get 7. That's pretty close, actually, at this point. But let's see if this gets to that point, or what's going to happen. Because, of course, we are playing against the black deck, so they do have answers. And here, here is a little misplay, and because I know my opponent's a little tired, I'm gonna just let them back it up. The Abyss is an enchant world, so playing a second enchant world would destroy the old ones, so stacking up Abysses is not a thing. So I gave them this one, let them back it up, and that's gonna be a little unfortunate drain life for me, because I lost my second Archer. But these are more casual games, this is not try-hard Magic, so letting an opponent back something like playing the second Enchant World, yeah, that's just fun and fair Magic, no worries there. And of course, knowing like the second Abyss, it wouldn't really matter that much. Well, that it mattered 5 lives at this point, but in the end, that Elvis Archer is gonna die on my next turn, most likely anyway, so it's not really a game changer. But let's see how much this one elf can do, because that is gonna die the next of my turn, and 2 cards in hand. That's we're kind of getting a lot of trouble, and Dark Ritual, the drain life in my face, that might just seal the deal. The damage itself wouldn't be a problem, but gaining the life back, it just makes this an uphill battle on every step. Like, I can lightning bolt them for 3. Oh well, I can chain lightning them for 3 at this point, but them draining me for 4 will just, it will negate my cards really quickly, and turn the tide quite easily. And at this point, if you have counted how many life points the Fountain of Youth has gained over the whole game, that Scavenging Folk play was an absolute misplay in the start. I was not expecting this game to go this long, but well, live and learn at this point. But we'll know it next time that life gain in a match like this is a real issue. Sinkhole for my opponent at this point doesn't really matter. All it does is reduce my... Well, a second sinkhole doesn't also do that much. All they do is they reduce my fireballs to smaller ones. But I don't think those fireballs are the ones that gonna matter in the end. Now the question is mainly just how quickly can the Tampere Nights deck close the game out? And 3 mana and Speak of the Devil, Underworld Dreams. Now I can't really use my library anymore because that drawing those extra cards and putting them back will hit me for 3 instead of 1. And I do know what's on top of my deck. I saw them in the previous turn. But so at this point I'm basically dead. The early Abyss made it extremely difficult. And now I'm at 3 life. I know my top cards. I can't get rid of the Underworld Dreams. And yeah, I think, yeah, there's the final realization. I'm not even gonna bother showing them any more cards. Tampere Nights gets the game won. And then it is turn for game number 2. I'm on the play, and this is a interesting start for the game. I start 5 cards in my hand. My opponent is starting with 3. They had to mulligan down to the drain because they were extremely unlucky. They were 0 landers, one after the other. So the variance might have just saved me in this one. But 5 cards isn't that much for me either way. A great start from my opponent could turn the tide. And okay, 4 mana on turn 2. 5 mana on turn 2, with starting with 3 cards is like extremely good. And there we see the best possible start they could have had. Right away, going into that Abyss. Now these are tough decisions for me, because do I want to use the Scavenger Folk to attack their mana? Because I might hit the Black Mox to kind of make sure they don't get the 3rd black mana for the Underworld Dreams. But that's not really a long-term plan. So yeah, I think I'm just heading out with the aggressive start, going with the using my Giant Growth straight away so they don't get stuck in my hand. Lano F hitting for 4. I'm most likely trying to just raise them at this point, because I'm playing against the top deck and just hoping the Underworld Dreams doesn't show up early on, because the Abyss did, and that's just the tough issue for me. Going with the Demonic Tutor, and here's a little tidbit that's going to be noted in a few seconds. Because we are playing the North Star Cup with Mana Burn, and my opponent didn't actually remember at this point, they have 1 mana floating, but because we both know that is not something that's going to be used, or like it wouldn't matter, because most likely the spell they are going to get won't be played right away, we're going to just let them take this back, in a sense that instead of the Soul Ring, they're going to just tap a Swamp to not take the Mana Burn, because they don't actually have to. And like I said in game 1, these are more casual games. This is a fun tournament. We're not trying so hard, so little things like that don't really matter to the gameplay, we're just gonna let the opponent take those back. And the idea is to have fun, not to win every single game. And for example here, 1 life point doesn't really matter. It's this game isn't won by inches, it's gonna be won by miles. And that decision for what to tutor wasn't actually that easy. My opponent is going back to their deck, realizing something else might be a little better. So I think this is the final card they're going to be taking. I'm passing the turn right away. And my Llanowar Elf went to the Abyss. And I think here we noticed that, yeah, the mana burn was the issue. And yeah, letting my opponent just change their mana because it wasn't really a big thing. So, going to my turn, 4th land, 1 card in hand. My biggest outs at this point is drawing those Whirling Dervishes. I brought in 4 from the sideboard, and they are the best tool I have. Tranquility is a helpful thing, and I really would like to see some of them, but the Whirling Dervish is the one that lets me win the game. And my opponent went for Greed. That was the tutor target. They want to kind of get back in the game and start drawing extra cards. And now, because they have the Abyss, they know they have a little bit of extra time. So yeah, 1 draw straight away. And not the second one yet. Alright, and yeah, I got the best top deck for me. And there's the Whirling Dervish. The protection from black works perfectly against the Abyss, because the Abyss one doesn't actually isn't worded like modern cards, which would say I have to sacrifice a creature, but I have to choose a target creature. And because the Whirling Dervish has protection from black, it cannot be targeted by black effects, so it will not die from the Abyss. If I do have other creatures, I have to choose the other creatures first and just can't choose nothing. But the Dervish is going to start hitting, and it's going to start growing at the end of each turn that it connects to the opponent. And they are now most likely looking for a Maze of Ith or a Suchi, assuming they sided in those Suchis. Icy Manipulator would work as well. Mishra's Factory would work. Well, it would have worked in a previous turn. Right now it's probably too late. A little Chain Lightning to the Dome from me. They're down to 5 life. My Dervish is gonna attack for 3 next turn. A Fireball for 2. I'm going all out at this point. I want to make sure they're not drawing for the Greed anymore and just try to kind of close this game out as fast as possible. And my opponent is doing the Greed math now. Can they draw a card or not? Because I'm empty-handed, so they technically have a little safe moment here. The Whirling Dervish alone will not kill them, but if there is any pump spell or any red spell, they will die. So now, thinking about all the options they have, that 1 card most likely wasn't the one they wanted to see. Let's do the quick math here, how many cards are in the deck that can help them. Yeah, Library of Alexandria, that's not going to do anything. Oh, Drain Life, well, that is something that will help them for a while. 4 points of drain, going up to 7 life. No, that's gonna help them a bit. And my Whirling Dervish almost forgot to be untapped, but yeah, swinging right in there, dropping them down to 5. Growing at the end of the turn, didn't get a good spell. But this is where the game is decided. If they use their Greed a single time and do not find an answer, that's gonna be game. And they went for the card. Now this has to be good. And what do we see? Did they get anything? Going for the last draw. The Hail Mary, dropping down to 1 life. And now there is no going back from this. They knew they were the bolt range, so it didn't matter, but yeah. They got nothing. Erhnam Burn'em gets game number 2, going to the final round. Game number 3, the final round of the match. I went down and mulliganed once, and another good question is, how deep do I need to mulligan for my side piece? Because those are pretty important, but I do have to have a functioning hand. And my opponent started out quick again. Land, Mox, Soul Ring, that's a lot of mana straight away. And I I got a little slower hand. I got a hand that starts on turn 2. Single forest, not good at all yet. And let's check out how lucky my opponent got with their hand, because the game number 2, they were extremely unlucky. So I think karma will help them out. And a Icy Manipulator, that is a great draw for them, because the Icy Manipulator will, first of all, it will punish my mana right away, because I do not get to the second mana on turn 2. And if I do happen to draw the Whirling Dervish, they're gonna keep it tapped for all eternity, and it's not gonna get to connect at all. And a second 4 mana spell, and it is the Abyss. It's barely showing on the screen, but yeah, that is the nut start pretty much for my opponent. The best thing they could have hoped for against me. And now the question is just how quickly are they gonna get the Underworld Dreams in. And this was the really problematic start for me. I had to play in that City of Brass to get red mana, or at this point any mana, because Icy Manipulator is the worst enemy of City of Brass. I got basically a clock in, just ticking down, tapping the land, and they did through the Underworld Dreams right after that, so my Sylvan Library isn't gonna really do much. This game is pretty much over at this point. Now I just gotta think, can I even use the library at all? Can I draw extra cards? Or what can... Basically, is like, is there an out for me at this point? Do I have to kind of try to dig deep, try to kind of find that single Whirling Dervish to close the game? And here we are actually checking out quickly the current wording of Sylvan Library, because I had a little memory lapse at this point, like, because Sylvan Library's wording has changed over the years a lot. Like, do you get to see the first draw of the regular draw before you have to decide whether not to use the library? And of course the current wording is that you have to draw all 3 cards at once. So no luck there. But because we all do know that I think it is a 5th edition or 4th edition Sylvan Library that I'm playing, and that wording isn't gonna do much help at all. But yeah, I'm gonna take a little damage from like getting to see the top deck, getting to reorganize the top to see if there is basically a something to get me out of this. Is there a tranquility on the top 3? But unfortunately, I do not believe that is the case, because I did have 3 mana and I would have so loved to just destroy every single enchantment in play right now. And I'm just at this point counting my outs, because I saw my top 3 cards and none of them was basically useful at all. I can't play any creatures. The Icy Manipulator is going to keep my red mana tapped, so fireballs ain't going to do anything. And all this time the Underworld Dreams is ticking me down. So there are 2 cards that I am like I have mentioned constantly, that the Whirling Dervish and the Tranquility are the cards that I'm looking for. But and the question is, like, if they aren't in the top 3 right about now, yeah, I'm not even going for that library anymore. I just have to like try to decide when to call it quits and see if there's anything, because I can't really shuffle my deck in any way. I don't think there was a single shuffle effect in my deck, because I don't play black and there is no demonic tutor, so that top is not gonna change anytime soon. And that's gonna be 2 points of damage every turn to me from the City of Brass and the Underworld Dreams. That's gonna mean that it's a 6-turn game. That's gonna be difficult. Even though if I do get the kind of nut draw, 6 turns is really not a lot. And especially with the Icy Manipulator tapping out the City of Brass, even 1 Tranquility will not save me at this point. So, and there is a Drain Life as well That's gonna be draining for, what, 3 points, dropping me down to 8. And that's pretty much game right there. I can't dig myself out of this one, but it's like checking the cards in hand. Is there anything I can do? I doubt at this point. Tampere Nights is a difficult matchup, and I think this kind of proves it. They have all the tools they need, and the lock pieces are extremely efficient against green decks. And we see another drain life. Yeah, I'm basically dead on board right away, because I'm down to 2 life. That's exactly that Icy Manipulator tap and the Underworld Dreams on my turn, and yeah, there's the game. I am dead, dropping down to 0 life, and it's 2-1 for Tampere Nights. Erhnam Burn'em is going down. Well, that was a beating and a half. My suspicions were correct, and it was Tampere Nights I was facing. Mono black control is extremely difficult for a deck like this, and especially that Abyss is going to be murder every single time. The matchup would be fine if all they did was attack my lands and hand. That I could live with. But the fact that I'm losing a creature every single turn makes it a real uphill battle. And then when the inevitable Underworld Dreams hits, the game clock sets in. But that is exactly what Tampere Nights is hoping to do. The deck performed perfectly here, and the matchup showed its strength well. Especially when looking at the second game, where I got nearly ran over when my opponent mulliganed down to 3 cards. The best tool I had in this match were Whirling Dervishes and Tranquilities, which unfortunately didn't want to show up that much. Game 2, that was all on that one single Dervish, but it wasn't far off. It could have been one Suchi or Factory to block it, or an Icy Manipulator to keep it tapped. But sometimes you just face decks that just have the tools needed to beat you. And it is time to dust the unfortunate game off my back and head on to the next round of the tournament. There are still 2 games left here in this North Star Cup event. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of them. Thank you for visiting the Shivana Library, and I hope to see you here again soon.